When a revered kung fu master dies under mysterious circumstances, implicating a rival martial arts school, Bruce Lee takes matters into his own hands. In the landmark 1972 kung fu film, Fist of Fury. And that's the movie we're dusting off this week on Movie Bones.
Sick man of Asia.
Just that the Chinese are a race of weaklings, no comparison to us Japanese. Well, clear a space there. My friends here promised to put up a good fight. Must be someone. Who's your champion?
Now, hold on. Listen. Our teacher, he taught us to be prepared to fight, but not to fight like this. We're for keeping the peace. Our school won't fight you.
Why wouldn't you let us fight?
Yes, I know. I wanted to. Only our teacher taught us we shouldn't.
And the camera pans up to Bruce Lee, and everyone looks at him. It's like, yeah, you're the one who's going to start fighting, dude. But it's like, it is Fist of Fury, man. I was expecting, like, I've seen, this is not my first Kung Fu movie by far. I've seen a good number of them. This is probably my first Bruce Lee Kung Fu movie, though. And I was expecting, like, this is going to be better than all those other ones, right? And actually, I was kind of like, there's a lot of kind of slower, kind of duller parts where it feels like not much is going on. And it's like, or it's just kind of cliched things to do with the characters. But I was expecting almost every other scene to be like a Kung Fu fight scene, and in between the fighting stuff, it's like, well, at least tell me where is this set? And I'm like, did I miss something? Because you got the Japanese and the Chinese, and you got a Russian involved in here somewhere too. And it's like, where is this place? And especially because there's like this matter of jurisdiction. It's like, I thought this was supposed to be in China. And then it finds out, yeah, it is in China. Yeah. Yeah. It's in Shanghai. Okay. But it's like, so it's like, I don't know what to say. It was like, I was confused. I was a little let down, and I just don't know what to make of it entirely, except that I was disappointed, man.
I'm sitting there thinking, it doesn't look like it to me. The movie takes place in 1908, a couple years before the start of World War I. It doesn't look like 1908, does it? I kind of thought it was in the 70s. I'm like, yeah, I can kind of understand, like, those feelings towards the Japanese from the Chinese. You're like 20 years after World War II. Japan was awful. Like, that's not an understatement when I say that. Japan was awful to China for the longest time.
They were, yeah.
But I thought we were dealing more with aftermath, not quote-unquote current. Everything to me screamed 70s, 60s and 70s.
What is the governmental situation in Shanghai at that time period?
There's a whole dynasty.
Okay. It says Shanghai was heavily divided between foreign powers in the waning Qing dynasty.
It makes sense. Maybe for some weird reason, we're overthinking it right now.
I mean, it's curious. I mean, it's so odd because, like you said, the phones look more modern. And it's like, but yet there is apparently some basis for this shared governmental kind of international thing that governed Shanghai. Okay, let's take it that there's a basis for this story somewhere. But it's like, it also has to mention that it's like, this is the most popular telling of what happened next. It's like, that's suspicious on the face of it, because popularity doesn't necessarily imply that this is the best researched, this is just the popularized version of it. It's like, okay, whose perspective are we getting here? And of course, it's the Chinese one, because it is the most black and white, stark divide I think I've ever seen. It's like, not just like between two characters, but it's like entire peoples. Every Japanese person is bad. and every Chinese student is good. And it's like it's almost like the Chinese are good to a fault because their only fault was they were restrained too much. And Chen had and they say it, Chen was right. And Chen's this he goes this bloodthirsty revenge kick. And it's like, sure, maybe they were guilty of something, but that doesn't you don't mean you get to go all like Batman without the constraints on murder on
Yeah.
everybody. So it's like, wow. And I never saw him as actually a hero like the movie wants you to believe. He's just like going crazy, man. He goes and picks fights.
That's the part where it's like this movie has something to say. It doesn't super work when part of the something to say is these people over here are the bad guys.
Yeah.
Like it's not black and white. They are 100% the bad guys. I mean, I guess you could, you make that argument though that maybe it's saying don't fall into their trap. Don't fall into that trap of, oh, we don't like something, so we're going to do this horrible thing. Don't be like them. And yes, the movie starts out with, what happens is you've got his master being killed. They're the ones that definitely did this. From there, it's just like the only other thing that seems like, oh, maybe is like you have two people that have infiltrated the school, and they're the ones that did it, but they were a part of the other clan dojo
Yeah. How'd they get in then?
the whole entire time. Yeah, they were a part of it, and then like again, so it's just kind of like don't become like them, and that's kind of what he does. But at the same time, you're like, no one else is going to provide them justice,
No. And it's
and
like,
that's a big part of the movie. Is like no one else provides the justice to the Chinese people or this Chinese dojo who have who've lost their master and who's been poisoned, and that's why this whole story has kicked off.
yeah, and I get that too. It's just like it seems like it wants to have it a bit of both ways. It's like they're trying to say that, yeah, don't do the thing, don't follow the path of revenge because you'll end up like Chen and he'll get shot down as he's jump kicking nobody at the end there. But it's like at the same time, but Chen was right. It's like if you're going to try and say that it was bad, we need to see some more signs of it because it's like it just feels like it's too much. You enjoy, first of all, Chen's fights are enjoyable to watch, first of all. And that kind of is like, that is a bit of a complicating factor. It's kung fu fighting and it's Bruce Lee. Of course, is good, and so it's entertaining to watch. So you can get lost in that to a certain degree without thinking about the fact that, hey, he's still kind of a jerk. You could say it's like, well, at least act in self-defense, right? It's like, but he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
wait for the defense part to kick in. He has to make sure that he's the first one out on the limb. And it's like, okay, so maybe they'll do these machinations and try and take you over, in which case you may have to defend yourself, using extraordinary means. It's like he's actually actively going out. So it's like, and I know that a lot of kung fu movies do similar stuff. They kill the master, and the student goes out on a vengeance spree. I'm probably being a little hard on it. Maybe I am being a little hard on it, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But at least in that sense of it. But there's other reasons why, and I think the bigger sin here is really for me is more the creative aspects of it.
I think if we're being too hard on it right now, it's most likely because like we did expected more kung fu. Surprisingly, not a lot of fights.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that that's a bad thing. It's
No.
just kind of like this is not his first kung fu movie. Talking about Bruce Lee, who, by the way, it is kind of something that a lot of his movies that are popular actually were released after his death. This is a movie that made him popular. So there is something about this movie. It made him popular. His other big movie was the one before it called The Big Boss. And, it's not that was his first movie that he was in or anything like that. I want to make that clear. But he dies in 1973, something like that.
Yeah.
So he's got The Big Boss, The Fist of Fury, The Way of the Dragon, The Game of Death, which was unfinished because of his death, The Fist of Unicorn. And these were the movies that were released posthumously. One of them is like, probably, I think one of the more popular ones, which was Enter the Dragon.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard of that one too. I haven't seen it yet.
I kind of look at it almost. There's a reason why I say almost in the same vein as Godzilla. And that's this idea that these movies, they have something to say. Godzilla's first movie had something to say. It is a fantastic film. We have covered it on this before.
Yes.
I believe I gave it the most glowing review
Yeah,
possible,
you gave it Fortune and
which
Glory, I think.
is Fortune and Glory. But what happens with Godzilla after that, and again, not necessarily a bad thing, but what do people like out of the Godzilla? Like, ooh, giant monster. And then, like, so you have these follow up films. It becomes less about this is the aftermath. This is a critique of Japanese culture. This is a critique of nuclear stuff. And it becomes about giant creatures, sometimes robots, sometimes lizards, sometimes monkeys, sometimes turtles, you know,
Uh-huh.
these
Oh, yes,
giant
Gamera.
creatures
Love Gamera.
fighting each other. Uh, Whereas the very first one was about like the horrors of nuclear war, the horrors of selfish, like there's so many, like the critique
Yeah.
of culture and everything. Again, like I look at that almost in the same vein. I look at it in the same vein. It's like, okay, this movie had something to say. What's this movie have to say? Well, falling into the trap of your enemies, like being like them. Is it correct? Is, you know, seeking justice, the impact of racism and all this other stuff. And that, again, I want to make this clear. That's not a bad subject, obviously. The problem is, like, unlike Godzilla, it didn't really hit, I think, as hard as it could have because, like we've already established, like you paint his character and what his character does in the right light the whole entire time. You want him to go fight them. You
Yes.
want him to do all these things. And like the only reason why he gives himself up at the end and he's willing to surrender himself and quote unquote surrender himself is because he doesn't want the rest of his people to be punished for his crimes.
Yeah. I don't see the level of artistry here that you would find as a starting point. It's like, yeah, okay, I see what the Godzilla thing is. It's like you start off with this great story and it's like, and you get a bunch of imitators who just focus on the superficial aspects. We can't make it that good a story every time, but we can make rubber monsters. We can put those on an assembly line, just keep cranking them out. And they sure do that with Kung Fu as well. But I just don't, unless the big boss, which again, I don't know what is the first Kung Fu movie that actually, kicks things off. Is it this one or is there another one that goes earlier? Is what I want to
I
know.
mean,
It does mention this one as being one of them. And so maybe one of the other ones is better. I don't know. Bruce Lee was in the Green Hornet TV series as Kato in the Green Hornet series. Can't think of who played the Green Hornet himself, but Kato is as Bruce Lee, and that's kind of got some spy vibe type stuff going on in a superhero kind of way. So it's almost like there's some of that. I started to think about that a little bit while I'm watching, Fist of Fury too.
I think the prominent part of the film where he goes in there and I don't know if he bugs the telephone, but he does something with the telephone. Like he's fixing it. And I'm like,
Yeah,
how do y'all not know that's him?
yeah, and it's
Like,
like, yeah. It's like how if you're looking for this guy, but if you don't even have any clue who you're looking for, then and how are you going to recognize him? And at least one of them does. I know that the interpreter guy does, and at least because I know he's seen him. But it's like even pokes him slaps him in the face a bit in the beginning as an extra added insult. But that scene is notable for something else to me too. It's like it's interesting because yeah, they didn't recognize him, and that's the whole problem on its own. But then it's like it's like they're talking about their plans to go attack his school. And instead of doing the thing that you would think anyone who was like, I really care about the people in my school, I'm going to go help them. No. While they're all out attacking his school, he takes the opportunity to go and attack the big crime boss lord guy and his Russian friend subordinate guy. And it was like, dude, you aren't even that much of a good guy here. It's like, yes, it's like, but yeah, your teacher's dead, but you realize you're going to lose a whole bunch of other people. And they do this. They wipe out almost his entire school of students. They're
yeah,
dead. And he could have been
it
there
says,
helping them instead.
yeah, you learn that like 4 of them actually survived after that.
Yeah. Which is like nothing compared to what the amount we saw like in the opening scene, you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think it's fair to point out, it's like, those people won't get justice. It's like you have a room full of dead people and you're like, we need to get Chen Zhen. He's a bad guy.
I know. And
It's
it's
like,
like,
well, he's not the one that killed all these people.
no, he didn't kill all those people. And the fact that you kind of know he didn't kill all those people. And it's like, you would think there's a certain body count, even in a corrupt legal system, you would think that there's still some level of a body count that would qualify. It's like, look, if we don't do something here, it's just we're going to look like completely incompetent. That there's absolutely no such thing as public safety at all. It's like where this kind of thing can go on and no one gets punished for it. Unfortunately, because there's not much story there to talk about. It doesn't feel like there's that much to. One thing it did surprise me. I thought the girlfriend was going to die, and she didn't. That's one of the things they always do in these movies. They did make them separated because obviously he's going to be taken away, and so they couldn't be together. Because they're making life plans. Whenever a couple like that starts making plans for their future, it's like, yeah, she's going to die, and it's going to motivate him. That was my go-to. But they didn't do that. They just did the next best thing. Head on that. So, get any other thoughts on this?
No, I think I've kind of said my whole piece on the movie.
Okay. Yeah, it just doesn't spark a lot of thought in me, and that's kind of disappointing. Yeah, so yeah, this isn't in a museum for me. The martial arts part, obviously Bruce Lee kicks all kind of butt everywhere and he's really good at it. Yeah, he's really entertaining to watch when he's actually fighting.
Yeah, that's something I absolutely agree with. Is like that's he's a lot of fun to watch. It makes me like what this movie does is make me want to watch like the other ones. There's a couple other ones that I've actually seen as well, and that's just they're good. They're fun.
You can just pencil me in whenever, if you're having kung fu night, it's like there's that joke in what is it, that movie Office Space. It's like I love kung fu, and it's like a moment of zen between the two characters. It's like, yeah, I totally get it. I love kung fu for those reasons too. So I would put a little content advisory for anyone with families out there going to watch it. The R rating is earned, although speciously so. They have a scene in there that is definitely not family friendly. Do not, edit that part out, folks. If it's like the rest of the movie has nothing really that offensive in it, really. But then they get to that one scene, it's like, well, we had to throw this in here for a reason. I'm not sure why, but but it's in a lot of that. You'd be surprised how many kung fu movies have a scene like that in it. So anyway, yeah. So I'm in a museum.
I'm saying like there's if you like the kung fu, that's great. That's you should totally watch this movie if you're a fan of kung fu. It's actually the start of a series, believe it or not, which is actually, there's a kind of funny thing behind that. One of the things that he has in the series is he has a twin brother. His twin brother is named this one's Chin Shin. And he's like he's Chin Zen. He's Chin Shin. And his brother is played by another actor named Bruce Lee, but you spell it Li.
Oh, you got to be kidding.
I'm not kidding you at all. And the guy actually looks like him. I looked at the picture of him and I'm like, oh yeah, it looked like they could have been brothers. But yeah, it's belonging to a museum. I mean, you can't get away from the fact that this made a lot of money. This really is kind of like, I hate to say the start of his career. It's not the start of his career, but it's what made him popular. So, I do recommend watching it for that particular reason. It's Bruce Lee, at the end of the day, I don't like anybody that's going to sit there and watch the movie. You should.
And nobody makes sounds like Bruce Lee does when he fights. His sounds, I will say that. Only like people like Eddie Murphy could have ever like imitated Bruce Lee. In any case, at this time, Ryan and I like to remind our listeners out there that if you're having a good time with us dusting off these old movies in search of celluloid treasure, please do like and subscribe and comment. And of course, follow us on your podcast purveyor of choice. Tell us what you think we got wrong, and clue us in on a few titles you'd like us to see cover on future episodes. As long as they're available for free on sites like Tubi or others, there's new ones all the time I've noticed that pop up, because this adventure comes with no strings attached. And on the subject of future episodes, we have another kind of influential film in its own right, but in a very different way. Going back another 10 years, because I think, not 10 years. Let's see, more like, is it 14 years? No, 16 years.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Okay, so we talked about it a little bit last week, not on here, but we talked about it a little bit last week, and
offline, yeah.
I started looking into it because when you hear the name, I won't lie to you folks out there. My first thought was this is clearly going to be like this is 100% going to be a Nuke the Fridge type of movie. It might be for one of us. I'm not entirely sure, but like then I learned how like I said, I was looking into it and I was like, oh my goodness, this is so influential. It truly is. So this is what Tubi says: a crew on a mission discovers that there are two survivors of a spaceship that crashed 2 decades prior. This movie is directed by Fred Wilcox, and it stars Walter Pidgeon Anne Francis, Leslie Nielsen,
Yep.
Warren Stevens, and it's not on here, but I'm going to go ahead and say it anyways. This movie also stars Robbie the Robot.
Yes, Robbie the Robot. His first movie appearance, actually.
This is the 1950, and we're going to talk about that next week. This is the 1956 movie Forbidden Planet.
Forbidden Planet. Yes, yeah. This is and Leslie Nielsen is one of the things about this one. It's like Leslie Nielsen with when he still had his hair color, his natural. I think is his natural hair color. But yeah, it's like most of it. If you grew up in our age range, it's like, or earlier, it's like I'm older by Ryan by a bit, and it's like, but even in my time, it's like I only knew Leslie Nielsen as the deadpan guy who had what with stark white hair, and it's like it's all I knew him as. And what a name Walter Pigeon is, How'd you like to go through life with your name is Walter Pigeon? In any case. So Forbidden Planet, folks, do join us for that. It should be a hoot, and we'll let you know if it's Nuke the Fridge or not. Like you said, it's like the poster also. Not just the name, but the poster. If you've seen the poster for it, suggests heavily that it would be Nuke the Fridge. But you will have to tune in next week to find out, folks. And on that note, can't think of anything else to say. So I'll see you next week, Ryan, and folks out there. We'll see you next week. Okay.
See you next week.
Bye bye, folks.
All right, then. Let's beat 'em up.
Yes, we'll smash 'em.
That's right. You will.